Today I have Matt Rosenthal, the CEO of MindCore Technologies. Matt, how you doing today?
I'm doing awesome.
I'm excited to have you here today.
So exciting, man.
It's a typical entrepreneur. We're sitting here getting ready, and Matt can't sit still, and he's worried about being able to fit in the camera because he just wants to move around. So you tell me a little bit about that. You can't stand still?
It's interesting. My energy is constantly active, right? My mind is constantly going, my body's constantly moving, and I have a show, as you know. So I'm looking at the camera, and I'm like, well, I know on my show, if I move the wrong way, it messes up the camera. So I was kind of moving around, moving the hands, moving the legs. I don't want to mess up your show.
So the Digging In podcast is your show, correct?
Digging In podcast, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So
it's similar to what you're doing, man. Same thing. We just trying to get the message out, help people, inspire people, motivate people.
So tell me a little bit about MindCore Technologies, and
cool.
I know it's an IT business, but you maybe could just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we're cybersecurity, cloud, collaboration tools like Office 365. It's business to business, right? So it's evolved over the years from like break fix, one-man shop working out of my basement to multi-million-dollar company. I have clients all over the U.S., I have clients that have offices like globally. So we've really grown it, and we're a trusted advisor. We're a partner to our clients,
right?
And they rely on us. Especially with cybersecurity issues, like people don't know what to do. So we understand the issues and we solve the problems. Day-to-day IT support. Everything across the board.
That's great,
IT-wise.
So you're the CEO.
I am. All right,
and maybe walk me through how you turn. Maybe that starts with just a dream, and then it becomes a goal and a reality. How does this happen? How do you make this happen?
How I became the CEO?
Yeah, how do you get there?
I'm like the accidental CEO.
Okay.
Right? Because it's not something I wanted. It wasn't something I was striving for.
Okay.
It's funny because when I was younger, I was always successful at things that I tried to do, but I never took a typical path. It was always like, I felt like I had like a sixth sense. I would see things other people didn't see. I saw ways to be better, smarter, faster, more efficient. And I didn't do good in school. I did terrible in school. So I wasn't like a guy who was going to be a CEO of a company. I got like an 850 on my SATs, and I think I barely graduated high school. No joke, right?
But that's not uncommon for entrepreneurs.
It's not. And so later in life, as I began to kind of fall into this path, it was the result of many mentors, different jobs I had. And then something inside of me, I always felt like in any role any job I had, that I always saw things that my bosses didn't see, or I saw a better way to do it or a more efficient way to do it. So I was always getting in trouble.
You're that guy.
I was that guy. I was like, what are we doing? Why are we doing it this way? Like, why don't we just do it that way? Which you don't like.
They probably told you go start your own business.
They should have.
Right.
But I did actually. So at a certain point, once I got into IT, when I was, I don't know, about 29 or so, I got into IT. I began to do side work, back in 99, 2000, 2001.
Right.
A side gig wasn't so accepted like it is now, but I had a side thing going, and it turned into like a decent business. Before I left corporate America, I was doing about $1 million a year on the side.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Gross on the side business.
Sure. With
my full-time job as an IT director in New York City.
Okay.
So,
so if you could do $1 million in revenue as a side business,
it still wasn't occurring to me. Like I still wasn't like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh, I can run a business. Like I had no idea.
So growing up, was there any entrepreneurs in your family? Like, what did that look like?
That's a whole show right there. No, my father died when I was 12.
Okay.
My mother didn't really have any vocation, so we lived off the government. We got checks, Social Security checks. My brother, myself, and my mother, so we all lived off of those checks.
Right.
Lived in this tiny little apartment, had nothing in a very wealthy town in Jersey.
Right.
So there was none of that. I didn't see that example. I didn't see anything. My grandmother used to tell me that my grandfather, I reminded her of my grandfather, entrepreneurial. He was the first guy to import those Vermont teddy bears back in like the 50s. So I guess it skipped a generation, but he was dead by the time I was 5.
Right.
I didn't have anybody around me. Just a little tiny family, and then we were basically poor.
Okay. And how did that impact you?
Okay. That's where it all really comes from.
Right.
Because it made me, and again, I can say this now. I didn't know it when I was a kid.
Right.
I was hungry. I was like, I wanted things. I wanted the things that I saw around me.
So not having things made it created that want and a desire to get more in life.
Yeah. And It did, but there was also something inside of me, which I really can't even explain where it comes from. There is something that I think some people just have, and it's just a motivation. It's like a desire. It's like I know that I'm meant for more than what I have or what I am now.
Right.
And what I was a kid who came from, until I was 12, a little bit of a dysfunctional home. But once my father died, it was like off the charts dysfunctional.
Okay.
Like out of control dysfunctional.
Right.
So a very emotionally, mentally, verbally abusive environment, like zero support, zero love. A hug didn't exist. Like I didn't know any of that.
Right.
My grandmother was the only person, my two grandmothers, that I got that from. So that in a way molded me to be sort of perfectly dysfunctional. And I got that from a book I read about many entrepreneurs who are perfectly dysfunctional.
Right.
Because that allowed me, in a weird way, to adapt, to see risk, to see things people don't see, to be able to fail or fall down and have a challenge and not even care. Just like, I'm getting back up and I'm going to run through the wall.
Right.
Like, screw you, get out of my way.
Yeah. So like, it sounds like you're embracing.
I adapted.
Right. You embrace uncertainty and any change being able to adapt. Right.
I love uncertainty.
So what you did was you didn't play the victim role in your life, which
I could have.
You could
because
have.
my mother was like that, and my brother still is like that.
Well, and why
not to
are
offend them?
he better not watch this.
He works for me. He can't say anything.
Okay, there you go. He wants his paycheck.
That's exactly right.
So, but why didn't you assume that victim role where you had all the excuses, like, and why didn't you? What's different about you? And what would you say to people why what your path was a better path, not to assume that victim role?
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a difficult thing to answer. I went through years of therapy as an adult.
Right.
Up in for like 5 or 6 years.
There you go.
And
that helps.
It was because of a business divorce that was going on with a partner. And so we were trying to work through that. But I learned a lot about myself in that process. I really don't know why. It never really came out.
Yeah.
The answer to that question.
Right.
What was the second part of the question?
So what would you say to other people? Like, why should you have a choice? You made a choice. Maybe it's
That's
not clear.
true.
It's not clear why you chose that. Maybe you haven't figured that out yet. Maybe one day you will. But why?
I know the answer.
Okay.
It just came to me.
And okay, so that answer, and also, and the second part of that question, I'm curious about what would you say to other people that have that choice? Because we're all faced with that choice at all different phases of our lives, like to be the victim,
So true.
or to take full responsibility, even when it seems totally unreasonable.
So true.
So tell me a little bit about that.
There were times where I remember sitting like underneath our apartment building on top of the washing machine so that I wouldn't have to go back up into the apartment where this like sort of abusive environment was. And when you live a life like that, 14, 15, 16, no car, can't escape, there's a lot of time to reflect on what do I want my life to be like?
Right.
And I do remember a lot of like, I'm not going to live like this and I'm not going to bring up my own kids like this.
Yes.
And I'm not sure why I said to you before I don't know the answer, because this really is the answer.
Yeah.
I just had to kind of go a little deeper to get it out there for you.
This is what I do for you.
Don't send me a bill for this. But I have thought about this. And I didn't want to, I knew that I had the potential to get out of the way that I was living as I got older. I didn't know the path. I didn't see it clearly. I didn't know how. I just knew I was going to get out of it. And I knew that I was going to be, quote unquote, successful.
Right.
I didn't want to live the way that I was living. And that was very, very, I mean, that drives somebody.
Yes.
But it could have gone the other way. I could have just like rolled over and said, oh, I give up, and I could have been a victim. You're right. I think more people do that than do what I did, which was like, F this. There's no way. Like, I'm not going to live my life like this.
Yes.
And all through my teens, 20s, into my 30s, if I listed every job I had, if I listed everything I did to make money, like I outworked everybody in every job I ever had, and I was never the smartest guy in the room. It was just, I wanted a different life. And
Right.
it wasn't until I was about 35 when I told you about having the side business that I actually felt for the first time what it was like to have some money in my pocket.
Yeah.
And it was a really good feeling.
Right. You get a taste of it.
Because I was like 35 and I had lived my entire life never having that for myself. It was always through friends, vacations with friends, friends' houses, friends, the parents taking me away. It was never something that was mine.
Yeah.
And it took me a while because you get imposter syndrome. It took me a while to actually, a long time, to like be like, wait, I'm working and working and working. It's happening, but it's real. It's mine. And this is really who I am, because I still in my mind, and to this day still do a little bit, identify as the poor kid.
Yeah. Okay.
In here and in here, I'm still the poor kid.
Yeah.
Which is why I'll never stop working.
Right.
There's no retiring for me ever.
That's awesome. I tell people that too.
What happens when you get a bunch of money? It's like all of a sudden it's different now. It's like, well, I don't want to lose what I got.
Right.
You can't stop.
And it becomes more. So, well, it becomes more than money.
On you.
That's okay. I got so many things to ask you and so many things to talk about. You've given me so much here. But real quick, like within like
I'm
a couple
talking
sentences,
to the kid who grew up like that.
In a couple sentences, why should people elect not to be the victim and take control of their life? Why is that beneficial?
A couple sentences. When you play the victim, well, the answer's in the question. When you play the victim, you're giving up control.
That's right.
Because as a victim, it's all of these programs that were put into your brain by somebody around you,
right,
to program you to be a victim. And when you're a victim, you don't really make good choices. In fact, you don't even see the opportunities that might be presented to you.
Right.
Because opportunities don't say, hey, I'm an opportunity.
Yes.
Like, you've got to be able to recognize them, and to recognize them, you can't be clouded with negativity. And so when you think as a victim, there's so many negative emotions and there's so much negative energy that come with thinking as a victim,
yes,
that you can't see. You and I could look, you could be a victim, you could think like a victim, and something could be right here, and you and I would see two totally different things in front of us.
That's correct.
When you're a victim, you can't see what you should see if you want the outcome to be positive, if you want to move forward, if you want to see failure as an opportunity rather than failure as a loss.
Right.
It's all programmed into your mind. And I will share with you that if you look at me and my brother, we came out of the same household, two completely opposite people. He walks this earth as a victim.
Okay.
It's very uncomfortable to even be around for me.
Right.
Because it's like nails on a chalkboard. Because he doesn't want to change.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody who's a victim and doesn't recognize it and doesn't want to change it, that's like the worst combination.
Yeah. And you know,
did I answer your question?
Yeah, but you didn't. It took you more than 2 sentences.
It's impossible, man.
I'm learning that. Okay.
I warned you.
I'm going to give you a shot clock here or something. I'm only kidding with you. But and also, we're both parents of daughters, right? We both have daughters, and you know, being a parent and demonstrating the right mindset for our children is so important, because if they watch us play the role of the victim, what are they going to learn to do when they as they grow and ultimately become adults? You know, back to what you were saying about belief. I'm curious what you think about this. So when I'm in a room, I used to look for the smartest person in a room. And they always say you don't want to be the smartest person in a room.
That's right.
But then I've realized something even more important. It was about belief. And what I learned is the most successful and happiest people are usually the person that has the highest belief in a room. And when I meet really super successful people, and I hear about their unreasonable belief in what they thought they can achieve, it's really was the secret, not how smart they were. Because if they had the high belief, then they would make the commitment to pursue the goals that they had, whatever type of goals they were, because they believe they can do it. So they believe the sacrifice was worth it because they were going to get the reward. But if they really didn't have confidence in that they can actually accomplish it, or belief, then we're hedging ourselves and we're not fully committing. You know, we got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. What's your thoughts about that?
I have a lot of thoughts. So start the shot clock.
Yes.
All right. So you're 100% right. What I've been able to do, and what I'm even doing now as I turn 51 and I'm just hitting my stride, it all stems from the belief in myself. But where did that come from? It comes from all the years as a kid, as a teenager, all the failures, all the overcoming obstacles, to over time to actually develop the belief that I can actually overcome issues, overcome challenges, which builds confidence, right? So thousands and thousands of things in my life have happened that have been so challenging, right? I'm sure you've had them too. You think every single, that builds confidence. Right. And after a while, it's like, I just know it doesn't matter what happens.
You become bulletproof.
I feel bulletproof.
Right.
And that's a great word. That's how I feel. But we're not born that way.
Right.
So you might have come from a home where it was actually programmed into you to be really confident and to believe in yourself. Like if you have a parent, like we do with our kids, like tell them you're doing a great job, everything like, awesome. I didn't grow up like that.
Yeah.
I was told you're a piece of shit, you're no good, and you every day of my life.
Okay.
So it was drilled into my head, which also made me bulletproof because I didn't believe it. I personally, as a kid, remembered not believing what was said to me.
Right.
And so when I face the world, my confidence is abnormally strong.
Right.
But I had to adapt. So for me, I had to make that happen. You know, it's not true for everybody. It's just true for me. But you're 100% right. That belief makes a difference. When you walk into a room, not the smartest guy in the room, but I believe and I know that I can outwork everybody in the room.
Right.
That's what I've done.
How important is work ethic? Like, you know, when you think about so some people will hear what you just said and say workaholic.
Could be.
Right. Okay. So is workaholic bad? Is it a bad thing to you when you hear workaholic? Like, what do you think?
I don't think of myself as a workaholic because I have mentors, because I've read a lot of the books you have up there on the shelf.
Yeah.
And there's a common theme. Some books actually will tell you, but if you can see it, I oscillate. Like I'll work a few hours and I take an hour, go to the gym, work a few hours. But even when I was not working for myself, I knew how to pace myself. I knew how to like not burn myself out, but I wasn't afraid to be the first one in, the last one out. I think other people would look at me as a workaholic because they're not.
Right.
Right. I gotta be careful how I say this. People who are uncommon, people who aren't normal, who aren't typical, who are above average, don't see working harder than everybody else as being a workaholic or as being unusual. Yeah. But it does set us apart.
Yes.
So I don't think I'm a workaholic. I will tell you that the amount of hours I've worked and the amount of effort I've put in over the years, for sure, if you ask my older daughter, who's now 15, what her recollection is of the first 10 years of her life, I was never really around. I had the flexibility to be, even when I worked for other people, but I was so hungry for what I didn't have. And I was so laser beam focused on building something for my family that I didn't have, that I literally worked 7 days a week. I mean, sun up to sundown. And my kids wouldn't see me for days sometimes, the entire week. I don't think that's a great idea. I can't tell somebody they're wrong for doing it or right for doing it.
Right.
It worked for me. And it's, when you put that kind of effort, as long as that effort is focused and it's actually moving you forward, you're not just spinning your wheels and putting time in just for the hell of it. If you're really moving forward, I don't know how else to do it. Like you got it. That hard work, that determination, the persistence, the consistency. If you want to be a wealthy person, if you want to have a nice house, nice car, if you want to actually have the material things,
or the
I don't know any other way to do it.
Or the experiences that.
Oh my God, the experiences are priceless.
Right.
Priceless.
Yeah.
But I don't know any other way to do it, and I'm not sure that it's fair to label somebody as a workaholic.
But you were doing it to accomplish goals that you had.
They were very clear. I did not want to live the way that I was living as a kid, and I didn't want my kids or my family to ever feel that.
Right.
In fact, my goal has been to build generational wealth.
Yes.
It's been to actually change the trajectory so my kids and grandkids never have to know what it was like.
Right.
You know, and that story is common. It's a common story.
Yeah.
From uncommon people.
Right. So, when we talk about like work-life balance, it's just about making sure your work's aligned with your goals, right? Yes. So you had goals and you had to align the work with what you wanted to accomplish. And when it's aligned, and if you can articulate that to your children, they understand that and they know what like the sacrifices are and why we're doing it and what the purpose of it is.
Yeah.
If they just see it's like just work for work and you don't even know why you're doing it because you don't have your goals.
Feeling, I would imagine. To not know why you're doing it.
And I think that's where a lot of people get lost in because they're not really identifying what they want to accomplish and then figuring out like, how do I align the work I'm doing to accomplish what I want to accomplish in life and I want to change my life. How do I move it forward? How do I make it better?
Wow. That's a pretty deep subject right there.
So I think that's what you just proven what you did. And I think that's,
can I add something to that?
I would love
because
to.
during that time, it kept changing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the big picture was
Right.
always the same.
Yeah.
But the path kept changing.
Yeah.
And I was never afraid to pivot.
Right.
And I don't think we talked about that as a topic for today, but pivoting is for me has been a big deal.
Or being adaptable, right? And just handling change.
Not being so committed to one path that you're like, I'm just going to follow that into off the end of a bridge.
Right.
Like, okay, I'm going this way. No, maybe I need to go that way.
Right.
I've done that so many times with different businesses, the one that I'm in, being able to see farther down the road and being able to see what other people don't see is so powerful.
Yeah.
I don't know how to teach that to somebody. I because of my upbringing, I used to walk in the kitchen, and if my mother saw a piece of a crumb on the counter, I would get like, is the word eviscerated? I would get like yelled at for like an hour.
Okay.
So you adapt to that. Like, you don't want to leave any crumbs around.
Right.
It's crazy.
Make sure there's none there.
But it helps in business.
Right.
Because it makes you really attentive to, you have attention to detail, and you can't teach somebody that. I don't know how to teach somebody.
Yeah, it's just what you're doing is
that alert.
Yeah, so you're adapting. You can take bad circumstances, unfortunate circumstances, problems in life, and you can turn them into opportunities and strengths. Even you could turn a weakness, you could be traumatized in life, verbally abused, or whatever you want to name it. But that you can view that as a weakness, but you can learn from that and turn it into a strength.
Of course.
And you could use that as a tool and a resource in life, and which is what you're showing.
100%.
Yeah.
But I mean, talking to the kids, it's like, how do I teach my kids? My kids will never know what it was like, and nor should they, to experience my life. Their life has been very different.
Yes.
So I do it through, they still see me very committed to work.
Right.
They see the choices I make.
What do you communicate that to them?
I do.
That's great, because we do too. I'm curious, what are some of the things you guys are talking about at the dinner table, or just when you're passing, so that they understand what that looks like, so they're understanding your work ethic and why you're doing what you're doing.
I don't know that I ever tell them why, but I'm very aware of trying to share with them accountability is important.
Yeah.
For them, schoolwork is an easy way for us to use the schoolwork to show, no, don't get on the iPad and start playing Roblox and FaceTiming with your friends. You need to have your most important things, like have the list of things you got to get done today. You got to get done this week. So on a Sunday night, it's like, what's the week look like?
Right.
What's the plan for the week? What's the schedule for the week? What homework? What assignments? And it's all got to be done. They don't always listen. But then there's actual follow-up. There's actual accountability. It's like you don't just say it and then move on, because the world doesn't work that way.
Right.
You have all these employees here. I have employees. My kids have to learn that there aren't just rules and there aren't just ways of doing things. There are rules and ways of doing things that actually work.
Right.
So being accountable, extreme accountability, extreme ownership. Don't be lazy.
Right.
Don't think lazy thoughts.
Right.
We actually say those things, and I actually talk about those things.
Yeah.
As you know, our daughters have a common interest, which is how we actually met.
Yes.
And that interest is really good at teaching the good habits of resilience. I couldn't think of the word. That's a great word. It teaches resilience. It teaches the consistency. It teaches the hard work.
And we're talking about equestrian.
I didn't want to speak for you. So the kids ride horses.
Yeah.
They compete. They jump.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
My younger daughter does it.
Takes a lot of courage.
I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it either.
Fall off the horse, I'm done. You can't kill the golden goose.
Yeah. Have you ever ridden a horse before?
I've ridden a horse. I had a trail going like a mile an hour.
I own a horse, but I've never literally sat on a horse, period. And I'm not.
We've had 3. I've never sat on any one of them.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to.
Too big.
Yeah. Well, that's.
Your daughter says no, you can't go on the horse.
Yeah, I don't even bother. I pick my battles.
I'm with you.
So for us,
that's how we teach it.
Yeah,
it could be sports. My kids don't do sport. Well, the equestrian's a sport. My older daughter, straight up, her thing is academics. She's brilliant at just normally she's just smart, straight A's. I want to take some credit for the fact that she doesn't have to be told to study. She just studies. She works at it. She will literally she's self-driven. She wants to be a straight A student. Maybe it's because she's seen me the way I work over all the years. We've talked about it, and she doesn't know the answer. She's 15 years old.
Right.
But there's got to be something to the way she was socialized and the way she saw me working and working and working. The work doesn't bother her.
Right.
And
that's a great
that's
thing.
the thing with me. The work, I love the work.
Right.
Like I love the productivity. I love like accomplishing, building.
Yes.
Right. Having creating.
Yes.
You know.
Right.
So I try to teach the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. We just talk about earning everything. Like nothing just happens. We're not entitled to anything. It's everything's earned. The iPad, it's earned. You earn the iPad time this way. Like we're
try that.
Why is dad traveling? Dad's traveling so we can earn to these opportunities. And also we talk about impacting other people and helping other people so that they learn that look, you're going to become successful by helping other people in this world and caring about people, not by just being selfish.
Givers get. Did you ever hear that?
Yeah.
Givers get. It's totally true.
Yeah.
It's a universal law. Man.
That's right. Yeah.
It really, I mean, I believe in it.
What do you define success as? Like when you think about, all right, you've had success. How do you measure success in your life? What do you define it as? Because that looks different for everybody.
It does. It's changed over the years. So earlier I mentioned when I was younger, I was just focused on making money.
Right. And
I'm still focused on that.
Yeah. We're a little transactional and it's finance. And right.
I can't say that I'm not still focused on success equaling money, but it means something different now because what I really want is for me, success is that my kids, my wife and my family are happy. Yeah. They're healthy. And for me to be able to create financial freedom makes it easier to be happy, healthy, and experience joy. And that is not to say that you need a ton of money to have those things. Right. I've had nothing. I've had a little bit. I've had a lot. Right. I'd much rather have what I have than to go back to having nothing. Sure. But at every single level, what I saw success as, when I reached what I thought was success, I'm like, oh, well, this is good, but I want more. Right. And it's hard to calibrate that because because of that childhood, I don't know for me that I'm ever going to reach a point where I say I've fully reached my potential and I'm as successful as I could be. Right. With emotionally, physically, I go to the gym, a lot. So there's success health wise, physically. Right. There's spiritually. Right. I'm not religious, but I do believe in energy and I believe in spirituality. Yes. And so I work on that every day. Right. I listen to stuff, guided meditations, and all of that collectively. For me, it became when I began to feel almost like this joy you have in your heart with everything around you. Right. And it's a little corny, but this is true. Yeah. Where I live, there's a little bridge outside my house. I live in a place called the Bridges, right? So we go over the bridge, but when you stand there and look at it, every night walking the dog around 7:30. Right now it's September. It's a great time of the year. I stop and I'm like trees, water, sun is setting, and it's like I could feel it. It's very impactful. Right. That's success. Yeah. Being able to like enjoy the moment. Experience the stuff around you. Yeah. Without, and I can always think back, and in 2 seconds, I can feel what it used to feel like to worry because I had no money. I couldn't pay bills. I had nothing. So that's always in the back of my mind. So it makes me very grateful for everything that I've gotten. That's success. Right. Being grateful also equals success. Yeah. Somebody could listen to this and they could be like, well, it's talking about it. It's always related to money. It's hard for a lot of these things to not be related to your finances because the finances, the more you have, the more it does make it easy to do the things I'm talking about. Right. But who was I watching? I was watching Steve Harvey the other day, that 10X thing he did a year ago. And he said something very interesting about when you fly in coach, you don't feel like you're missing anything. But the second you fly in first class, it's very hard to walk back to coach. Yes, right. And he said it and he was joking, but it's also true. Yeah. It does. It gets to be like, oh, at different levels, you become to associate, you begin to associate success with different things. I feel very fortunate that we can have good quality food. It sounds kind of corny, but like knowing that we're really eating good quality fruits and vegetables, not everybody can do that. Some people really struggle. And they're not fortunate enough to do that. What I say to those people is, there's nothing stopping you. That's right. And it could be the victim mindset that's stopping you from reaching your own potential, but there's really nothing stopping you. And it's easy for me to say right now, but I've been there. I've been the guy that's had nothing, lived really like without. I found a way. Yes. And that if you're resourceful enough, you can find a way to reach whatever you consider success. Very long answer, but I wanted to speak to everybody who is at different levels.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, when you think about potential, if you work to fulfill your potential, today's potential is here, then you work to fulfill that. And all of a sudden tomorrow's potential is there. You work to fulfill that. So your potential keeps increasing. It's just like an infinite game. It's you're either growing or you're dying in life. It's one or the other. Yeah. And so it's your choice. Am I in growth mode or am I sitting waiting to die? Yeah. It's one or the other. You're never doing neither. It's not possible.
You know what I got? I see your 10X stuff is everywhere, but I got from Cardone.
Yeah.
If you're not growing, you're contracting.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think about that all the time. Mm-hmm. I lose one client, it drives me nuts.
Right.
But what I remember and what I calibrate is that's just that. But the action, the effort, the amount of stuff that I'm putting out brings me in more than I might be losing.
Right.
So it's easy to get caught in this loss mentality, which creates contraction. Mm-hmm. The second your mind goes there, you got to stop, pause, catch yourself, because if you stay there for too long, you're in trouble.
Right.
In business, you're in a lot of trouble, but it could be in a relationship. It could be anything.
Yeah.
You can't be in loss. You can't be in doubt. You can't be in lack, or you're in deep shit. You really got to catch yourself.
Yeah.
Not easy, because everybody's programmed. If you watch TV or you listen to anybody, we're programmed to have just enough.
Right. Yeah. We're programmed.
But just enough isn't enough.
That's right.
Because when it's not there, all of a sudden, oh, shoot, savings is gone.
That doesn't account for things that don't go according to plan.
That's right.
And things don't go according to plan.
A lot.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the last questions I have for you is, what's a 5-year goal for you? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, or do you have a goal that you're looking to accomplish over the next 5 years?
I'm going to cheat. So I was watching this Steve Harvey thing I was telling you about.
Okay.
And it was at that 10X conference 2 years ago. And Cardone says to him, what was that thing on your phone? I think I told you this. But he said, what's that thing I saw on your phone? So he makes him bring his phone out and he shows us a vision board.
Yeah.
I've never done a vision board.
Okay.
He holds up his vision board and I'm like, damn, that's powerful.
Okay.
So I made my own.
Okay.
I put it on. And this is the answer to your question.
Can I see it?
We can hold it up, but I got this idea from him. Now, for me, this is very realistic for me. In the next 5 years, I want to be at $100 million.
Okay.
Right? Part of that is going to be a $25 million real estate portfolio.
Great.
It seems like a big number if you don't have any real estate, but I'm on the way. I've been working on it for years. So
yes.
it's within the next 5 years, I'll have that for sure. It won't even take that long. Just symbolically, because I love this car. This is that Porsche 911.
Yes.
That's kind of stupid. I don't really need it, but it's almost like, well, if I got this, I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
But this is what's very important at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's a picture of my family. Oh,
okay.
It's a picture of my family.
Right.
And it says family freedom.
Yes.
That's the answer.
Right.
In the next 5 years, the true goal, when all this stuff happens, my family has freedom. We have freedom to know that we're safe, secure. I don't mean just financially. All of those things will make sure that my kids, not that they're going to be handed things, but they're never going to have to suffer the way that I did.
Right.
And so while I'm creating that over the next 5 years, and the reason I say the next 5 years, you asked about it, but I'll be 51 in a few months. I spent my 20s, 30s, and 40s getting to where I'm at now. It took a very long time. In the next 5 years, I will probably 10X where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because I'm hitting my stride. The people I know, the network is bigger. My business is bigger. Mm-hmm. Everything is falling into place right now. Mm-hmm. And I spent all these years reading books, following people, working with mentors. So it's like, and now I understand when I look at people that are 50, 51, well, you talk to people who will say when they were in their 50s, they hit their stride.
Yes.
I never understood it.
Yeah, like Warren Buffett made
now I get
90% of his wealth after he turned 50 years old.
That's what's going to happen.
Right.
And it's on track.
Because all the investments you made in yourself, if you did it right, is going to really start paying off.
Happening as we
if you've been
speak.
doing it for decades. Yeah.
It's beginning to happen. Relationships are beginning to pop, and things are finding me. So that's the answer. It's on my phone.
And some people might look at that and say, oh, $100 million, $25 million. But in order for you to do that, you have to add value to the world for that money to come to you.
That'll never happen without that.
Right. And if everyone was working on getting better and adding more value to the world so that they were worth more to the world, wouldn't the world be a better place?
Could you imagine if everybody did that?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be,
But
oh my
but
God,
some-
it would be
one person might
unbelievable.
look at that as like, well, that's really selfish. He doesn't need all that. His family doesn't need all that. But he's not going to steal it. He's going to need to earn it. And he's going to add value to the world. He's going to find a creative way to provide that value to the world. He's going to have to become a better person and continue becoming a better person in order to add that value. And that's the beautiful thing about capitalism.
It's so true. I mean, I didn't put on there, I do give a lot of money away.
Yeah.
We didn't get into that, but
You said you were going to give some of that to me at the end of the show, right?
I think you're giving it to me. It's a privilege actually to
Yes.
be able to
Yeah, if you make too
give
much
to people,
give it away.
It's I've served on boards. I was on the YMCA board in New Jersey for a long time, and the entire purpose was to help kids. That was the mission was to change the lives of children. That's what the YMCA does. I was on the board there for years.
Right.
I would actually pay for kids to go to summer camp.
That's great.
You know, it's like I don't actually talk about that. It's not something that I broadcast because that's not why I do it.
I understand.
I served on the board of summer camps. It's the same one I went to as a kid that we couldn't even afford to go to. So I didn't, it's not on there. We didn't talk about giving back, but I was a volunteer fireman for 15 years in New Jersey.
That's
15
great.
years. The amount of time I invested in that for free.
Right.
There's nothing that makes you feel better than doing something for somebody else expecting nothing in return.
That's amazing.
Nothing.
Yes.
And I do teach my kids that. But having the resources to impact more people, it makes a difference.
Yes.
So it's not just about my family. There's no question that that's going to affect other people. And we didn't talk about this either, but look, you employ people, I employ people. We put food on their table. We give them medical insurance. Now, they choose to work with us and we choose to work with them because there's common beliefs and there's synergies. But they're still like my employees are my family too. It's my work family.
Right.
And I look at every single one of them as people that they take care of me, but I take care of them.
Yeah.
And the more people I can employ, the more people that I can impact. And every one of those people that works for me, and I see by walking around your office with the things you have on the wall, it's not just about the money.
Yep.
The belief system, the culture, commitment, dedication, reach your potential. Like for people that want that and they come to work with you or work with me, that's the culture.
Yes.
That's not on that screen.
Yeah, I'm with
But
you.
having that money makes it more possible to impact more people. And that's the point.
I love it. Matt, amazing having you here
Did you
today.
have fun?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I know that the audience is going to enjoy this. How do we connect with you?
So the best thing to do is go on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Matt Rosenthal. I'm sure you're going to put it in the description, but go on LinkedIn. I have a show called Digging In. We do the same thing. It's a lot of good episodes. There's about 100 episodes out there, and about 2,000 shorts. So if anybody wants to get to know me more,
Okay, you can find
check
that
that out.
on.
Digging In. My company's MindCore, like MindCore. If you want to reach me, you can go to the website. It's mind-core.com for business related stuff. And I think if you go to those three places, you'll find me.
Awesome. I appreciate you, buddy.
I had a good time, man.
Thank you so
It was
much.
a good interview.